Hey, it's philzGoodMan. Have you ever wondered what the setting called lag compensation does in Krunker? Even though the setting was added to the game a while ago, I definitely have not figured it out. I ended up going back and forth a lot between a value of 1 and 0. So I decided to just go ahead and do a more thorough testing of it, and that's what this video is about. Unlike some of my other videos on Krunker's network performance, I'll be doing all these tests in-game, so kind of like a field test. And of course I am playing on 4 ping or lower, as you guys love to point out, but I will find a way to simulate some of the network performance for slower internet connections. I'll be trying to answer these 4 questions. The first is, does it actually work? The second is, does it impact the hit registration speed? 3, does it impact who hits first? So in a situation where 2 people are firing at each other at the same time, if lag comp has any impact on that. And 4 is, what setting should I use? Starting things off with number 1. So the way that lag compensation works in other online games is that if you fire a bullet and you're aiming at an enemy, basically by the time that you do that input and it sends to the server, the enemy's position should already be something that's different. So what lag compensation does is adjust the hitbox so that it's a bit behind the player. And now I want to bring your attention to this gameplay example, and it might be blocked, but I have about like 120 ping, so a lot higher than normal. So basically the first example is with lag compensation turned off, and I begin this gameplay by aiming directly at the target, and I miss pretty much every shot. Miss. Another miss. Oh, that was a hit. I'm adjusting my gameplay to do kind of like a manual lag compensation, you could say, by leading the target. But the problem about that is it's not as reliable as just aiming at the player. So we're gonna turn on lag compensation and see what happens. So I've just turned lag compensation on. Even though it takes a while for the hit to register because of the ping, you'll see basically wherever I aim, you know, if it's on point, I get the hit. So you can see from these examples that lag compensation works quite well, actually. Let's have another look at the same shot in Adobe Premiere so I could break it down frame by frame. My mouse cursor is over the enemy player's head. It does take a while, like 10 frames for the shot to register, but it does register as a headshot. So lag compensation definitely works. I was really curious to find out if lag comp has any other effect on the gameplay. For example, the hit registration speed, if it somehow gives you an unfair advantage. And that's why I tested the speed of the hit registration. Here's how the test works. Frame 1 is when you see the flash on the screen. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm counting until the enemy player model disappears. So I count this as basically 3 frames. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 disappears. So like 3 frames. And after that, I counted from the time where the enemy disappeared until I heard the headshot sound, because I was just kind of curious to see how that worked out. It is a rough estimate because I'm editing in 60 frames per second, so that's as accurate as we're gonna get. And then I use the waveform to determine like when the headshot sound was. But if you do listen, it's pretty interesting because at lag comp 0, it sounds like this. You hear the gunshot and then the headshot sound, and then you go to lag comp value of 1, sounds like this. So the gunshot sound and the headshot sound are much closer together. The time it took for me to initiate a click until seeing the flash on the screen was about 1 frame. But the important part is adding these 2 numbers up, the time it takes for the kill confirm to happen. And they're all pretty much about the same, between 3 and 5. And that's definitely within the margin of error. There doesn't seem to be any advantage one way or the other for hit registration speed, depending on the lag compensation values. This next test was a fun one. I got Krunker on my phone and my computer. Gonna try to hit the fire button at the same time and see who wins. So the PC with a lag comp of 1.0 beat out the phone with a lag comp value of 0. Now obviously a big part of this test is just if I can hit the button at the same time or not. And I flipped the 2 values, and looks like the phone actually came out ahead. Let's run it back. It did seem kind of fishy that the phone was getting so many wins, but I never started a conspiracy theory before, and gotta admit, it does sound kind of fun. Quick recap. First of all, lag compensation definitely does have an impact on the game. It definitely does adjust the hitbox position. Second, I really don't think that it gives any sort of advantage in terms of hit registration speed, and I don't think that there's an advantage in terms of who gets the first shot in a 1 versus 1 situation. So with that out of the way, what should you use for your lag compensation setting? And I want to draw your attention to the gameplay right now. Pay attention to my cursor and just think about if the hit should have registered or not. Now let's do the same thing, and I want you to pay attention to this footage that's played on lag comp of 0. I had to go back into Adobe Premiere and just really break it down frame by frame in order to figure out exactly what was going on. So right here, it's on the head, and same frame, that's when the bullet fires and comes out, and it's a body shot. So I think what happened is that player was a little bit ahead, even though my internet is very fast. Now here's an example of lag comp 1. Target is moving to the right, so pay attention to the direction when you're doing these tests. And then clearly a miss. So I clearly missed here because, I mean, look at that. It's pretty far off. Let's see what happened. Even though it might seem like lag comp 1 is really generous, let's have a look at one more example. Body shot, but kind of looked like a headshot. And then second shot probably shouldn't have been a headshot. After doing several more of these, I probably did like 20 of them total. I realized that my shots were not aligned either way. I settled on a lag comp value of 0.5, which you can see in this gameplay here, but that does not mean that it's the best value because it depends on your internet. When we were playing on the India server, I had to use a lag comp value of 1. The best way to do it is doing tests like the ones I showed you earlier, where you're just going back into video editing software and scrubbing. Don't worry about it too much because after a few games, your mind automatically makes the adjustments. But if you have the time, I think it is worth it. As you can see from these shots, they're much more aligned and they felt a lot more crisp. It would be interesting if other people tried out this type of frame analysis using their own internet connection. The good news is that it looks like lag compensation is working exactly as intended, and it's really cool that we actually have control over this type of feature. And in the end, you're just gonna have to find the lag comp value that works best for you. There's still some open questions about this setting, but I don't think that there's a conspiracy where one lag comp value is going to give unfair advantage over the other. As always, thank you guys so much for watching my video, and if you plan to buy KR anytime soon, please use code PHILZ in the Krunker store. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, and good luck with your lag compensation setting.